You have a right to remain silent. Do you understand? Many probably do not recall the name of an 18-year-old little girl named Patricia Weir, who had been minding her own business and walking home from work in Phoenix, Arizona, when she had been apparently kidnapped and sexually assaulted, and had identified as her assailant a man named Ernesto Miranda. However, anyone who has ever watched a police story on the telly knows that you have a right to remain silent, a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, then one will be appointed to you from the court, and that anything you say can and will be held against you in a court of law. Sometimes we know what we want to know and remember what we want to remember. But they say that being a wise guy is not really what you know, but what you understand. Many know names like Linda Brown and her daddy Oliver, Dred Scott, Richard and Mildred Loving, and even the prize fighter Cassius Clay. Some may know the name Homer Plessy, John T. Scopes, and a parson named Henning Jacobson. Who doesn't remember the certain man named Sinke from the Hollywood movie, who stood before the Supreme Court and said, "Get me free." However, Webster Bivens is probably not a well-known name to most people outside the legal profession, and probably not even known to students in law schools. However, in November 1965, he had had an encounter, a close encounter of a very personal kind, with federal law enforcement agents that resulted in a civil action that had made its way all the way to the United States Supreme Court in 1971. In law school, most often students might be asked to recite the facts of the case. And this plaintiff had alleged that several narcotics agents had entered his apartment, placed him in manacles in front of his wife and children, and had threatened his entire family while searching his Brooklyn apartment from stem to stern. After apprehension, he was transported to the courthouse, taken downtown as it were, interrogated, booked, and subjected to a visual strip search, where Mr. Bivens' rights at that time violated. In many more recent cases, the Supreme Court has said that had that case come before them today, they may not have decided in that plaintiff's favor. But Mr. Bivens, back then, had decided to get himself a fancy attorney to make the argument, not that he was entirely innocent, but that he had been subjected to an unlawful search and seizure, fruit from the poison tree. In violation of the Fourth Amendment, having been arrested, apparently, for what federal agents had located after entering his home. Without a search warrant, a proper search warrant, challenging the claim that the law enforcement agents had established probable cause to warrant his arrest. A theme that comes up in cases like Terry B. Ohio, giving rise to the Terry stop. And after what had become the longest respiratory tract infection pandemic in history, why might this fact pattern and case be of any interest to even you or anyone else? Especially since now it is a matter on petition for certiorari at the United States Supreme Court. Think like a lawyer. On 30 December 2019, 3 bronchoalveolar lavage samples were collected from a patient who had been afflicted with a pneumonia of unknown etiology. This unique phrase, today, is a surveillance definition established following the SARS outbreak of 2002 to 2003. And it had been rendered in December 2019 in Wuhan Jiantan Hospital, associated at that time with only 27 cases, but no reports of death, no evidence of human-to-human transmission. 19 associated with a venue the size of 9 American football fields. Scientists in China had early determined that the alignment of the full-length genome sequence of the COVID-19 virus and other available genomes of beta coronavirus had shown the closest relationship was with the bat SARS-like coronavirus strain BAT-CoV rat G13. Identity 96%. With many suspects that had been considered, including raccoon dogs and pangolins, to date, this single bat coronavirus, which circulates only in one type of bat, located in only 1 or 2 places in the southern portion of the Yunnan province in China, over 1,000 miles away from Wuhan. The Virology Institute, it's often in the press, and the Hunan seafood wholesale market remains the prime suspect even today. Suspected of either unnatural spillover, possibly to a still unidentified intermediary host, or, as many more today are beginning to believe, had managed an escape from the Wuhan Virology Institute. Either or, one or the other, up or down, yes and no, guilty or not guilty. But if it was a natural spillover, there are still bats in Yunnan. If it was a lab leak, there is still a lab in Wuhan or somewhere from where this came. And some say For the ultimate answer, we may never know. Until we get into the light, perhaps. But most agree that this particular bat and coronavirus are the prime suspects, no matter from where the suspect had found its proximal origin. However, many have claimed that during the pandemic declaration, like Webster Bivens and then Nesto Veranda, that they had their constitutional rights violated, derogated, abridged. Perhaps their churches had been closed, their children had been taken away from school. They had been compelled to engage in social distance, don a facial covering or mask, and had been mandated to be administered a vaccine. And all based upon not probable cause established, but only a presumption of what? Infection. And a presumption of presenting risk of spreading deadly disease, posing a threat of harm to others that you may or may not have even possessed. However, unlike the suspect who had been alleged to have sexually assaulted and kidnapped an 18-year-old girl in Phoenix, and like the suspect who had been arrested by several narcotics agents, most freedom-loving people did not even retain an attorney or go to court to bring a case, where, at least under the Constitution, we settle all cases and controversies. And you have to wonder why. Why do criminals go to court to defend their rights? Perhaps because they don't want to have them taken away. And now on petition for certiorari is at the Supreme Court is a case about a Facebook user who had his user account permanently disabled, still disabled today, and expressly for not spreading misinformation, but for security reasons, and who had been informed on July 19th, 2021, just 4 days after the White House announcement about problematic accounts, that Facebook had not been at liberty at that time, nor have they found liberty since, to provide any further detailed information to justify this indefinite sentence in what many call Facebook jail. This message was approved by Major Mike Webb. Honest.
It's acquaintance. Always.